but we're gonna start off with one thing. I haven't talked to you since you made the move to WI when you made move to WRC, and then you move to Kyosho. What people don't know is that in between that Agama move and that WRC move, you almost legitimately went out of RC and was getting at a real job. I guess my first question would be, how close was you to getting a real job, and what was you gonna do?
Yeah, it absolutely was. There wasn't much left to go to in the industry at that time. I had reached out to a few options, and everything was already. It was pretty late in the season, so I like, okay, well, I maybe I'll go work for UPS. That was my goal, to do the winter season as a driver or a helper to deliver the packages during the holiday season. So I went through all the training for that, and actually drove down to Columbus, about 2 hour drive for the final training and the in truck final tests, and passed all that. Got my certificate or whatnot to do that, my uniform, and then like the next day I got an offer to drive for WIR or WRC at the time, and to work with a guy who was going to import the cars into the US. And so I got to stay in RC.
Dude, so I have was it exciting to you to kinda like I call it real world because I call it real world. Was it was it intimidating to go out there and go to a real world job? I mean, it's also guaranteed money, guaranteed insurance, guaranteed benefits, and all that stuff. It's kind of the stuff you don't have in the RC community and the RC world security. So, what was going through your mind at that time?
Yeah, it's a lot of change, a lot of unknowns. It was just going to be a temporary thing because they hire extra people for the holiday season, the holiday push, and so it was going to be a temporary, try it out, see if it works, and then also if they hire you on after that or not to keep you. So it would have been still some more unknowns until maybe after the holiday season to see if it would have been a permanent thing or not. Um, but yeah, just it was lots of just unknowns as it is now. Year to year, every contract is a generally a 1 or 2 year thing. So after that, you're re-signing, renegotiating, and figuring it all out again. So it's kind of been my whole career. There's not a ton of stability, but a lot of my sponsors actually I've had for 10 to 15 years. So I try to work with the companies and the ones that work with me, and we have that relationship that can keep going. And I think Kyosho could have been that back in the past, uh, as well, just because of how they are, how I am. It just didn't work out. Something that happened back in 2010. So that's why I had to go through all these different chassis changes, which has made it every year a little bit of a challenge.
I'm gonna ask you what happened in 2010. Can we talk about it?
Base, I might be actually a couple years off. It was 2008, actually. Yeah, 2008, because basically Brandon Rohde, who started Live RC, was working for Kyosho at that time, and are kind of working with them. And he went with Joel Johnson, who was the president of Kyosho America at the time, to Japan for a meeting, and they were talking about the Kyosho international team for the following year. And they brought up like Cody King. They wanted to put him on the international team, and then Brandon spoke up for me. He's like, "What about Ryan?" At the time, I was the team manager for Kyosho America, and they said, "Oh, he works for us. We don't need to put him on that." And that was kind of my goal. That was everybody's goal who wanted to be on Kyosho, be on the international team, to be able to go to all the international
Mhm.
events and like the Kyosho Masters and whatnot. And when they said that, and I heard that, I'm just like, they don't care about me enough in the racing aspect of it. So I sought out a different avenue and went to Tamiya. Cool.
That's right. I forgot that you raced
Yeah,
together. I
yeah,
forgot all about that. Wow. You brought just brought up memories. Tamiya. Wow.
right.
Tamiya was a viable racing platform at one point, like in the off-road community. Uh, but you're back kind of where we got to see you. 2008 was some like the good. I wouldn't say good old days, but good days of 1/8 scale racing. I remember you traveling a lot to with Kyosho at that time. Well, just putting in the work. Like you wasn't really you was developing your brand. You was a young man. You was getting into it and all that type of stuff. So I remember that, right? I remember you meeting Francis because that's our one thing that we have in connection is Captain Kyosho Francis is my friend here in the DR who's Kyosho forever. So I know you're really good friends with him and whatnot. And I think you even went to a few. Did you ever come down to Puerto Rico for a RC Pro race? I think that's where you met. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Pro RC Pro Series, sorry. That's another
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking of making a video, another Lefty Sip of Thoughts. I got a lot of thoughts in my head, and that's going to be probably my next thing. Like a series in RC, right?
Okay. Yeah, I
So I
enjoyed that RC Pro series. I thought he did a pretty good job with it, trying to combine the whole country and let them race in their regions, bring them together for a finals, and I thought the concept was good. Yeah.
and he was a one man show, Carlton Epps, one man
Yeah.
show. So I need to see. Somebody said he's still obviously he's not in RC, but that's somebody I knew Carlton personally, and I would love to reach out to him and see what's up and see what he thinks about RC nowadays. But that's a good time, good days. 2008 and all those times and all that stuff. So we're gonna go fast forward to at WRC. That was a tumultuous year for you. It was. I know it wasn't easy. It was kind of like a one man team. It was difficult. There was a lot of stuff going on in the background too. I know about all of that. We're not gonna get into all of that, but there was a lot of stuff going on into the background behind the scenes at WRC.
Mhm.
And actually, at one point, I thought WRC was in a good place, right? A very good place. And I don't know if it was prior to you getting on there. I can't remember or whatever. But now it's gonna be a struggle for him, in the US, especially in a market so inundated with chassis brands, right?
Right, right.
So
Yeah,
go ahead, sorry.
yeah, I was just saying, yeah, WRC that whole year was tough, because it wasn't as simple as some of the other chassis deals I've had in the past. It wasn't sponsored directly from the factory per se. It was actually the guy who was going to import them into the US. That's the one that picked me up and
Raul,
offered me. Yeah.
I
Well, no,
remember.
he wasn't.
Was it
Well,
not
he
Raul?
a friend with him, but he wasn't the guy bringing him
Okay.
in. And so he was the guy that was going to be, paying me the travel and whatnot. And throughout the year, the money wasn't consistent how it came in. And then I would get parts from Italy, but
Mhm,
they weren't really part of my travel program or
mm.
making sure that I was making a living at it. So it was just difficult on the back end that the stuff people they don't see. And I tried the best I could with the car, but it just without having the support and just everything falling apart around it, it just wasn't a great year for sure.
I know. So I guess near the end of that year. Well, hold on. Before we go any further, did you see that video by Tagasi the other day? The Italian guy, the Italian YouTuber guy?
I didn't see the video though. No,
Okay, so he's signed with well, it's work now, WIRC. I assume they changed the name from WRC because of trademark,
World Rallycross. Yeah.
World Rally Cross, World Rally Championship. He drives for him now. He's like a Italian YouTube guy. He drove at HB for a while, right? He's a popular YouTuber and he does all his videos in Italy in Italian. He did a tour of the facility for WRC because it's always been a speculation. Are they made in Italy? Are they made over in Asia? I still believe they're made in, but they had stuff like they were producing stuff. So I guess my question is, are they producing that car in Italy, or is it a mix between Asia and then they're fine tuning it over in Italy?
I think it was mostly done in Italy. Obviously, I mean, the son of the owner raced in Formula Two,
Mhm.
the full size stuff. So, I mean, they had the backing and everything. They definitely have the ability, I think, to make it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty interesting tour of the facility. So that's what got me thinking. So I thought I would ask you that as well. So let's fast forward, coming to the end of your time at WRC. Now, do you have Kyosho secure, or is it another? I might be going out and working in the real world type of situation.
Yeah, the latter again. I kind of reached out to most other chassis initially, and again, there just really wasn't much at the end of that year. That was in the COVID years, so it was kind of a
Mm,
struggle for a lot of people. And I think it was early December maybe that I reached out to Patoshi, who owns Kyosho America now or runs it, president of it. And he was with Kyosho back in 2006 through 2008 when I was there. And so we've always kept in contact. And I just messaged him. I'm like, because he had offered me actually 2 years prior to come back to Kyosho. And I declined because I was already I think, staying with Agama for the second year at that time. And so this was 2 years later. And I'm like, is that offer still on the table to come back? And he's like, yes, actually, great timing. And it worked out.
that brings up a good topic too. What happened at Agama? Because you had a fairly decent 2 years there, but we didn't really see we didn't really see the traction. I remember I went to B&B. I think it was 2019. It was the year that the JQ Racing team had the whole that's when we was able to pit in the arena. And we had that whole side pitted over there. And it was like you, Billy, and Abba, because Abba's from Bermuda and he was a Agama guy. And I remember Billy coming over and saying, "You don't even have a pro drive, and look what you have her." You know? I was like, just it was a lot. That was a hard that was a good time in my life doing that stuff, and it got me into the industry, but it was probably one of the hardest jobs I ever had, being a team
Yeah.
manager. But
Setting up all those tents and tables and chairs and coordinating all that at every event. Yeah.
and dealing with so many different personalities on a 24/7 basis, and of course, dealing with our good friend JQ. That's
Yeah.
probably why my beard is so great. Because when I met JQ, it was just a little salt and pepper. And I've gotten older, but he's put on a lot of these gray hairs on my beard.
No doubt.
What happened at Agama? Just ran out of
Again,
money?
that was kind of the COVID years also, and
Mm,
then, they for a while, when we had, I think, the best results, the product wasn't there. They didn't have availability of product, and so we
yes.
couldn't capitalize on selling it, and so that was just it was like a bad timing mashup, and it just fell apart after that, yeah.
I don't even think there's a Nemo America no more because Billy seems to be right out of it now. He's I don't
Yeah,
have Billy Tyask. I like Billy. He never smiled, but I like Billy.
right,
He was he wears his heart on his sleeve. He ain't scared to tell you how he feels. And
right.
unfortunately, that doesn't work in the team manager role in RC. So, but I always like Billy. I like his thinking and all that type of stuff. All right. So Kyosho,